Well, members of Congress returned to the U.S. Capitol today with the government shutdown scheduled for midnight Saturday if they don't achieve a budget agreement before then. Now, the House is expected shortly to vote on a procedural vote. If that is adopted, they will then move to 4 of the remaining 11 appropriations bills. It is improbable that all 11 can be done before Saturday night, so a short-term funding mechanism will most likely be attempted before the end of the week. We're going to be joined in just a moment by Congressman Bob Good, who's tied up on Capitol Hill. I'm going to go to one of our Washington Stand writers to talk about another issue. I'm going to throw this in today. It's something we've been tracking, and that is the issue of religious persecution. The United States, under the Biden administration, I touched on this briefly yesterday, has almost ignored this issue. In fact, we've seen a decline in the number of individuals allowed to come to this country as a result of religious persecution abroad. But European politicians are shining a spotlight on this. Joining me now to talk about this, Sam McCarthy. He is a writer with the Washington Stand. Sam, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks very much for having me on, Tony.
So tell us what happened last week in the European Parliament on this issue as it pertains to religious freedom.
Yeah, well, you had a Dutch MEP, member of European Parliament, Bert-Jan Ressen, staged a display in conjunction with Open Doors and a Dutch organization for persecuted Christians, highlighting the rising global persecution of Christians. We're seeing this in countries like Nigeria, various portions of Africa. We're seeing it in India. We're seeing it, obviously, of course, with the Chinese Communist Party. And we're seeing it also in places like Nicaragua, where the Catholic Church has been particularly targeted. Ressen called on the EU to act in defense of persecuted Christians and not to stay silent on religious liberty. He and his party called on the European Commission to release a report, which they had previously promised, on enforcing religious liberty guidelines that the European Union had put in place 10 years ago, and they still haven't released a report on how that's being enforced, standardized, upheld, etc. And he also asked to expand the office of Commissioner of Religious Freedom, which is part of the European Commission. It was a new addition. It came in along with the implementation of those standards and guidelines on religious liberty.
Sam, is this final question for you? We got Congressman Good now.
Yeah.
Is this an example of the vacuum that has been created because of lack of leadership by the United States?
Yes, it absolutely is. Under Biden, the U.S. State Department has essentially abdicated its responsibility to promote and protect religious liberty, both at home and abroad. That was something that under the previous administration was upheld, enforced, and it's something that under Biden has been essentially forgotten and swept under the rug.
Yeah. So they can advance their abortion agenda, their LGBTQ agenda, and their climate agenda. Sam, thanks so much for jumping in here today and sharing that with us.